All right. Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Minding Mind podcast, where we live life with ease, connection, and permission to just be. I'm your host, Evelyn LeVasseur, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm sitting down with Amy Haydak, and we are going to talk all about how to be more intentional in your parenting, specifically for mothers. Dads are invited too, but we know that the majority of our audience are moms. Before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit more about Amy. Amy Haydak is a licensed clinical social worker passionate about helping families break unhealthy generational cycles. She guides parents in building emotional regulation, stronger connections, and healthier family dynamics. With both professional expertise and personal insight, Amy shares compassionate, practical strategies for navigating the challenges of parenthood and personal growth. Amy, I feel like this is so important because just that the thought of emotional regulation and navigating parenting and personal growth, it almost feels like a conundrum, right? Because you are doing the absolute best you can with your children, but also unlearning stuff for yourself and trying to relearn in real time. It just feels like work. On that note, Amy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So, what can you talk to us? Let's just get right into it and start with this whole idea of emotional regulation. First of all, maybe you can describe for people what emotional regulation even feels like or looks like in real time, and how does somebody learn to regulate their emotions when growing up they were never given either permission to do so or had a healthy model?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people, the myth of emotional regulation is that I'm going to stay calm all the time. Nothing's ever going to activate me. That's not true. I like to describe it as more of I can stay calm in the chaos. I can't take away the chaos. In my own family, I can't. I'd be a millionaire if I could figure that out, right? But it's ultimately how can you stay peaceful and calm and connected in your own body and in your own mind while that's happening? So what does that feel like? My heart rate is calm. Those physical, those somatic reactions, my heart rate is calm. My head's not pounding, the tension in my neck. That's how I would describe those physical moments if I'm feeling calm, emotionally regulated. That sounds really good on paper. What does it look like? I'm not yelling. My body language isn't aggressive. I'm standing still. I'm sitting still. That's what it looks like, making eye contact, things like that. It's very difficult. Like you said, how do we actually get to that space, especially when we grew up where our feelings weren't welcomed or they were punished or, whatever it is that happened in childhood. So I think for a lot of people, specifically mothers, just because that's the population I work with the most, we, become adults, get a job, go to college, whatever it is. And I think a lot of us feel that we healed, right? Oh, I'm resilient. I got over it. Like I'm cool. I can do this. Then we become mothers and all of these things start to happen. And we don't I know me personally, I don't want to say we, I'm speaking generally for everyone, but I know me personally, I was noticing reactions internally for myself that didn't feel like me. I'm very peppy. I can find a positive silver lining in anything. I'm very happy. um that's just the way I like to live. And then I noticed that I was reacting a certain way and I'm like, wait, I teach this stuff for a living. Like I support parents for a living and I don't know what's going on with me. So it took a little bit of work, but I think in order for us to really know how to do it, we have to know where that activation, that trigger is rooted first. Because we can do our breath work and our meditations and our exercises and eating healthy. 1000% recommend that. But those are band-aids. If we're not really getting to the root of why those things are making us feel that way to begin with, then those band-aids ultimately aren't going to be able to continue the healing.
Do you think that most people are even aware that they're activated in the moment?
I don't think so. It took me a few years and I'm the professional. So I don't think it's hard because we're on autopilot. We're sleep deprived. We're not eating right. We're eating the leftover, crust from the Uncrustables and whatever it is, right? Working moms, stay at home. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Autopilot all day long, all night long. The time to pause and be like, oh, let me take care of me. If that intention isn't there, that support isn't there, it's very difficult to notice that we're doing it. And that's why I talk about all the time. We're unintentionally passing down those unhealthy generational patterns. It doesn't have to be very explicit abuse and neglect. That's obviously a very unhealthy generational pattern too. I think sometimes it's that reaction, the yelling over the spilled milk, the shutting down and the isolating and the leaving your child to deal with their feelings on their own because it's too much for you, right? Those are some unintentional spaces we end up passing down the trauma to.
Yeah, I think there's so much too about when you're having a reaction like that, like you're snapping over the milk that spilled, or you're furious that their bedroom is not clean, or you're like, and I've done this before, like angry washing the dishes, right? You're
Oh
washing
yeah,
it hard,
yeah,
it's just, it's such an invitation to look at yourself and say, like, what is really going on? Because this is
yeah,
not about dishes. This is
yeah,
not about spilled milk. Like paper towels can handle that really fast, right? So there's that first part of like, what is this even, what is really happening? What do I need that I'm not getting? And then I wanted to talk about, there's this quote that I saw years ago that honestly changed the way I show up for my daughters in certain ways. But the quote just said, your child is not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. And it was such a shift for me because it took away the thought of they're acting out in a way to be defiant of me, and
mhm,
instead really looking at them and just looking at them as little human beings who need their mother, and recognizing they're not trying to give me a hard time. They need me. They need something from me that they're not getting. So let me pause and figure out what the hell that is so that we can, move a little bit differently. And I noticed such a change in the way I approached them. And my girls are not really like outwardly defiant or argumentative or anything like that. But if they gave me any pushback, to me, it was personal. If
yeah,
they questioned anything, the way I taught them to question everything, I took it personally. And I had to just pause and say, like, damn it, Evelyn, you're raising them to question everything, and that's going to include you too. So get in there.
yeah,
Ask, like, what is actually happening? What do you need? What do they need? And just thinking of an example of my youngest, when she would she would almost, you would look at it as acting out, but she would just respond really quickly and really frustrated. And I felt like she always has to talk back. She always, in my mind, I'm like, she's talking back. But really, when I was able to pause and say, she is not a defiant child. She is so kind and she's so loving and she is such a cuddler. And when she's speaking up that way, it is because she's using her voice and she's trying to tell me something and I'm ignoring her. I'm
yeah,
ignoring everything that I taught her to
mhm,
do. I'm ignoring when it comes back to me. So there was a lot of evaluating that had to happen with me recognizing that it's not about me. Her reactions are not about me. It's about what she needs. And my approach is the catalyst to her being able to open up and speak to me.
yeah. 100%. So shifting that mindset of how that's a lot of the work that I do with women as well is the idea of your child is not being defiant. They have a nervous system and a brain that's developing that, by the way, takes 26 years to fully develop. So when you're looking at a 6-year-old, a teenager, all of that stuff, it's our job to teach them what to do with those feelings and how to express them. When our own activation happens because we don't know what to do with it, we give them something they don't deserve. So when they give it back, we're like, whoa, where'd you learn that from? From us. You learned it from us. And I notice that in my children sometimes. I hear my daughter and I'm like, oh, all right, I have to work on that, right? Because again, I'm the professional, but I'm not perfect. Being able to recognize that. So how did you notice the shift? Like when you had that mindset shift, what was the shift in your relationship like with your girls?
The conversation is so much easier to work through. Not only is the conversation like in like a heated conversation, it is when it's a heated conversation, it is comfortable. It is both of us expressing ourselves, what even if it's passionately, respectfully, calmly, and not taking anything personally. That's the first part. And then the second part is that I feel like it opened the door for them to come to me about anything because
Mhm.
they knew that my reactions were safe, no matter
Yeah, I love that you said that. The reactions are safe. You have their back no matter what. Are you going to guide and teach and all of that? Absolutely. But not in a way that is judgmental or attacking. That's a big piece.
Yeah. So, Amy, how do you begin to work with somebody who wants to have that communication with their child, who wants to be a safe space, right? Mentally, emotionally, and physically, but does not know how to regulate their own emotions first?
Absolutely. That's a really good question. So, in any kind of trauma work, so I'm also a therapist, which I'm not going to get too much into right now, but if I'm doing any kind of trauma work in my coaching business or in therapy, we spend so much time in just the education of trauma and the emotional regulation piece before we actually get to the trauma. And the main reason behind that is you're going to find yourself one skipping, it's like trying to climb a ladder and missing the first six rungs. Like you can't get up there. You're going too far ahead too quickly. It's a step-by-step process because you have to feel safe doing it. You have to feel safe in your own body and recognized in your own body. So we do a lot of somatic work. We do a lot of like on scaling your body, scaling your physical reactions, scaling your emotional reactions. What is it that you're thinking? And we do that in like, those surface stressors that are happening. We spend a little bit of time in the surface stressors because that's such great ways to practice noticing your body, feeling what's happening, and learning how to do that without judgment. That's key. How do we do that without judging our feelings, without pushing them down? This is uncomfortable, go away. How do we slowly open up that floodgate where it feels safe and you are in control? And I teach a lot about like what exactly is happening in our brain during trauma. Why are our reactions actually very normal? We don't want them, right? We can change them. We can definitely change them. But what's happening is exactly what should be happening based on what we have experienced, based on how our brain has developed. The good thing about our brain is that we can rewire the pathways. We can rewire the way we see the threat, the crying baby or the spilled milk. We can rewire the way that our brain interprets that, which in turn changes the way we respond to it.
Yeah. I think it's important really too to just normalize people recognizing that things that you needed and weren't given, or things that you experienced, even if they aren't physical, explosive
Mm,
traumas,
right.
your body still reads them as trauma, right?
Sure.
Like I think a lot of people reject the word
Mm,
trauma because they
mm,
want it, like I wasn't abused, right?
right.
I didn't go through anything major. Like it's not that. I just don't want to downplay, or I don't want people to downplay their own experiences, because I do think that we're taught that as well, that, well, somebody has it worse than me, so I shouldn't be complaining. When the truth is, like, the thing that happened, happened. The thing that I was taught was taught. The thing that hurt me, hurt me. And another part of that, I believe, is that a lot of people don't ever want to feel like they're disrespecting their family or their parents. And
Mm,
I fully accept today that my parents loved me.
yeah.
They always loved me. They did their 100% best at every moment. And some of the things they did still hurt me.
Yeah.
Both are true. They love me and they hurt me. Just like with my daughters, as I'm learning and unlearning things, I'm
Mhm.
not going to get it right all the time.
Right.
So I'm going to do things that hurt them and that they have to unlearn. And I
Mm,
have to give them grace to do that as well.
absolutely. And there's so much power in the repair that comes afterwards when you're humble and you own the mistake
Yes.
and have that conversation, the passionate, hard conversations. But you've already laid such a great foundation to be able to have that conversation again without judgment, without attacking, just like we can sit, we can listen, we can hug it out, and I'm going to try harder next time.
Yeah.
Right? The
Yeah.
humbleness of I can make a mistake, I can apologize, and I can still have a good relationship with that person teaches so much more and builds so much more connection than being perfect, which is not possible.
Which literally doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Can you talk? I want you to give a little bit of maybe an example of what this looks like in real time. Like, let's say you are at the grocery store, your child is having a whole fit. because they want whatever candy you said they couldn't have, and they're going bananas.
Hmm.
Unhealed part of you wants to freak out.
Hmm.
Your heart is racing. You're like, what the hell is going on? Why are they doing this? This is crazy. And you're ready to snap. What does responding with regulation look like?
You have to pause first. And I always start there and I laugh a little bit because, again, on the resume, pausing, perfect, hire it, right? It's really hard to do when our bodies cannot register that as an option. So there are things to do in that moment for sure. But in order to know what to do in that moment, there has to be work done before.
Mm,
And it could simply be the concept of preparing your child of what will or will not happen in the store. It doesn't always mean they're going to follow through with it, right? But being able to kind of set the expectation, what's predictable, what's not going, what's not going to happen, because that feels safer for the child, right? The child needs to know that predictable and structured is good for them. The mother needs to understand my kid's probably going to tick me off in here at some point. When this happens, what will I do?
mm,
Being able to do that scaling, even if it's just like a green, yellow, or red light. Red light meaning I'm flipping out in the store, right? I'm gonna and then make a fool of myself and be like, the cameras are gonna come get me. So, all right, when you walk into that store, you're most likely not in your green zone anyway, because you've been with your kid all day. You're not really like going into the grocery store. It's not usually a fun experience. So recognizing if I'm already at yellow, what's my body doing? So my body tends to almost like buzz, like a vibration, especially in my feet. So if I don't pay attention to that, like that's one of my first cues. And everybody's cue is different. When you notice that first cue, because you should be doing those self check-ins, should, right? What do we do? That's where we practice our pulse. We practice the pulse when we're in our green zone, when we're in our yellow zone. Ultimately, doing that, it helps us to recognize when we're slowly getting closer to red.
mm,
So if we're able to practice that, and because to be honest, your question is like, what do we do in that moment? You're most likely going to scream and yell. If we're not doing this work before, you're most likely going to scream and yell because your body and your brain does not have the capacity to pause in the red zone. That's the reality of it. But what you're going to do in the store, you're going to be like, okay, I know this aisle is going to be the aisle that this is going to happen. So how can I adjust this? Maybe it's I'm going to, you know, give my kid a snack or let them listen to a song. Like, what is the distraction method? What am I going to do for my child so that this doesn't become the focus?
mhm.
Because for children, especially young children, they become fixated on something, and that is the only thing that matters. The kids fall down and skin their knee, right? It's a tiny little scratch, but it's the end of the world in their mind until they, you pretend that Spider-Man's swinging from the trees, and then they're like, oh, where? Now their knee doesn't hurt at all, right?
Yeah.
You got to kind of understand the development of a child in that space as well. So we do a lot of that work at the same time. Nervous system of your child, your nervous system. So I never give an easy answer on any of these things for any of these questions because I wish it was an easy answer, but it's not. It does, like you said, it sounds like work. It,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
work. It takes a lot of
Important,
intention.
though. It's
Yeah.
so important to me because I feel like what we're doing is moving away from that parenting model of just authority and discipline, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want my girls, and I do, my girls are 16 and 13 now. And when, especially the oldest was younger, I definitely just repeated what I knew, right?
Yeah.
If she was crying or having a tantrum, I brought her to her bedroom. I had her sit at the dinner table, and if she didn't finish her dinner, she didn't get a treat, right? Or just if if I said something and I didn't like her response, I turned her around and had her walk away. And in my mind, I was raising her to respect me. But
Mhm.
really, what I was doing with evaluation was teaching her that I'm an authority,
Mhm.
that her voice doesn't matter,
Mhm.
that I can't handle her feelings,
Mhm.
that when it comes to food, I know what her body needs more than she does.
Mhm.
You get into more nuance around that. Seeing I'm somebody who spent a lot of my life dieting and completely disconnected from what my body needed. I was literally teaching her that people outside of herself know better
Yeah.
her for what she needs. I was teaching her that treats are rewards, right? I was teaching her that obedience was more important than using her voice or trusting her instincts. There's so many lessons that I recognize later, but today we'll have those conversations.
Yeah.
Like I will say to my oldest, who is very verbal, very, very good at explaining what she's feeling, but at times she just doesn't let herself feel it. And
Mhm.
like our conversation, just last night, we had a conversation around me telling her, when you were little and you would have like a fit or you were crying, I would bring you to your room. And I realized that what I did was teach you that you couldn't show your feelings in front of me. And
Mhm.
that's something I want to work through releasing, and I want you to get more comfortable too. And I'm sorry that that happened. And also, I want it to be different. And
Mhm.
it, it just feels like a healing in me while
Mhm.
I'm healing something in her at the same time, which really I feel like is a lot of the work that you do when you talk about that generational cycle breaking. I think that's it in real time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It sounds like you are the cycle breaker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I like to
awesome.
believe that.
Yeah, awesome. There's an activity I like to challenge moms to do when they are actively and intentionally wanting to shift the way they respond to those big feelings. I ask them to find a picture of themselves who, or from when they were younger, whatever age kind of sticks out as this, this is when I remember feeling this way, or this is what I remember my parents treating me as. Like whatever that age is, find a picture, put it on the fridge, the mirror, put it somewhere where you can see it. The intention behind that is that when your child responds with a big feeling, whatever it is that activates you, look at the picture first, respond to your child the way that you needed to be responded to when you were a child.
Mm,
And that intention there shifts a lot. So you're saying, when you said there's a healing in me that's happening, that's the concept of reparenting. You're reparenting yourself while parenting your child. And that growth and that healing happens together. And that's really cool. That's a very vulnerable place to be.
mm. It is. And but it's such a I feel like it provides such a connection.
Yeah.
I guess I always desired growing up.
Mhm.
But like I love at this point where my girls will just come in, like they dance competitively. When they come home and they have something they want to talk about, it's like plop themselves on the couch and they just spill. And we
Yeah.
have we have these conversations where they can reflect, share, and work through what they're going through all in one sitting in a way that a lot of adults I know can't. And I guess in those moments too, I have to pause and say, like, I gave that to them.
Say, tap yourself on the shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
I gave that to them by working on me, but also recognizing that everything that I teach them with intention was something that I needed or wanted to. So, talk to me a little bit about how do you help moms break free from, I have to do it this way because
Mhm.
that's what I learned,
Yeah.
to I get to write my own story.
Hmm. There's a lot of inner work with that. I think, so through my cycle breaker program, it's broken up into modules. So again, probably a longer answer than what you're anticipating, but a lot of that comes with, worth, confidence, and identity. So a big component of my program is really like, okay, what is my intention? Did I ever really know who I was, or was I told this? And did I get into a relationship and then, was morphed into being a wife and was morphed into being a mom? Who am I? So before we get into emotional regulation and really shifting any behaviors, we do that just inner reflective work of who in the heck am I? Why was I put here? And that encompasses a lot of the worth and a lot of the confidence. There's different things that we go through of, where did I learn this pattern? There's a lot of reflections, a lot of meditations, different hands-on applicable things we go through to make it personalized. This program is not something that it's like, this was from a training or a theory or textbooks. It's very personalized because not everybody's experience came from, isn't the same. And then, you know what? Sometimes, those unhealthy patterns, they're very subtle. It's not this yelling or it's not this I'm avoiding your feelings. It could be the exact opposite. And that looks like overcompensation, right? I am purposefully knowing like I don't want to pass this on. So I'm going to do the exact opposite and do everything for you and always let you have all of the feelings and never correct you, which ultimately creates a whole different set of problems for sure. So where do we find that healthy balance? Because a lot, I think that unintentional, I'm passing this on. And so many women come to me and I'm like, have you experienced trauma? No, I'm good. I'm good. Right. 3 or 4 sessions in, I already know the answer, but we finally get to the point where they're like, oh, I got it now. It makes sense now. That was trauma. And I'm doing the same thing,
Mhm.
which is interesting because that's never the reason they come to therapy to begin with. But then it shifts and what we're doing. So, this program is pretty much built out of my own personal experience, was built from the experiences of so many women I've worked with. So yeah, long answer is that it starts with identity and it starts with worth and it starts with confidence. And once you do that work, that particular shift of this is what I will always learned, or I get to choose, it's intrinsic, it's peaceful, it's natural, and it feels good in our body when we do it.
Mhm. I think that that part right there, it feels good in your body, right? Like all
Mhm.
the things that take us away from ourselves don't feel good in our body. That for me, it was I have to look a certain way. I have to keep my body at a certain size. I have to restrict. I have to exercise as discipline and punishment. I have to make sure that I look the part so that other people will see me as valuable. Because if they see me as valuable, maybe I'll see me as valuable too, right? So really, it was never about my body. It was about wanting to be valued, right? Where I think like the idea of the things I need to do to be considered a good mother, really, my body rejects them, right? When I'm overwhelmed, when I'm exhausted, when I'm overstimulated, when looking at dishes in the sink is pissing me off, when looking at some toys on the floor is sending me over the edge. Those are signs that my body is rejecting the ideas that I have about what life is supposed to look like. Because when you have people in your house that live there and life is happening, it can't always be perfect and organized, right? Another thing I keep thinking to myself, I used to apologize every time somebody came over. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry for the mess.
Over apologizing. Yeah.
Yeah. And today I'm like, first of all, my house is clean. Even when some things are out of place, my house is clean. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that life happens here.
Yeah.
We live here and we love here. And there's no such thing as my house looking magazine ready
All
for your
right.
benefit, right? That's so silly. But those are things we were taught about. A good mother not only takes care of everything for the kids and takes care of the house, but she also is magazine ready to entertain when
Right.
somebody comes over because anything less than that means we're not doing our job.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's yeah. I stopped apologizing for my house a long time ago because I was like, I'm doing my best and this is what you're getting. Yesterday we had people come over we had some stuff to get fixed around the house. So we had somebody come over just to kind of make a plan for it. The dog's going nuts because he really wants to hang out and be excited and whatnot. And then you prompt the kids, sit down and eat. It'll still take 15 minutes. We need 15 minutes. Didn't get the 15 minutes. All right. And I'm just like, bring your headphones next time. This is my house. Welcome to the house. And the next time you come, it'll probably be just as loud because this is a house that I'm living in, you know? But it was interesting because I cognitively was like, I should apologize. This is madness. This is madness. And I fought the urge to apologize. I didn't, but or I didn't say it, but I kept wanting to. And I was like, why do I need to say it? So as they're there, I'm like, why do I need to say sorry? You don't. There's no need to apologize.
Do you think that sorry is like you're preemptively trying to keep them from judging you?
I think that's where a lot of it comes from. Because like a lot of, like you said, when someone comes into your house, sorry for the mess, right? That's a lot of times where because I used to do in-home therapy. So I went into a lot of homes and some of them were messy and some of them weren't. Did I care either way? Give me a spot to sit. I'm good. But so many people would apologize for the mess. And I'm looking around, I was like, your house is cleaner than mine. I don't know what you're apologizing for. But when you really kind of think about it and analyze it, because I analyze absolutely everything, I think it's very much rooted in what their expectations are of themselves, what they think others are going to think about them, because that is the world we live in.
Mhm.
What are they going to say about me?
Mhm.
About this? What about that? And then we avoid so many things because we're so scared of what others are going to say. And we miss out on a lot of life because of that.
Yeah, you know, and I think that that also brings up the idea of us finally getting to a place of I get to choose how I want to live. I
Hmm.
get to choose who I want in my life. I
Hmm.
get to choose who comes to my home.
Hmm.
I get to choose whose energy I want in my vicinity. Like we have so much power over the life that we create that I literally today can say, if I think for a second that you're going to judge me in my home, you're not welcome in it.
To be there.
You
Hmm.
don't get to come over here. I don't want jealous, judgmental spirits in my life. I don't
Right.
want that energy in my world. I work hard to create the peace that I live in, and you're not walking up in here to disrupt it.
I hear that. And that confidence means, it feels good in your body to say that. There is no guilt. There's no ping in your chest. There's no irrational thought process. There's no intrusive thoughts later judging yourself. Oh my goodness, that peace feels amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's exactly it, is that the your body, when you say the thing that's actually aligned with what you want, your
Hmm.
body's like, yes,
Hmm.
that feels good.
Yes.
I feel
Yes.
calm. I feel at ease.
Mhm.
Where like apologizing for my home or apologizing for my children, I can feel that pit in my stomach. I could feel that like tightness in my throat. That's my body saying, this is wrong, right?
Mhm.
Like stop apologizing for the life you've created and stand with some damn pride in it instead.
There's actually a bonus course in Cycle Breaker that's called Girl Stop Apologizing, right? I think there's a book on it too, but there's and that one came from personal experience of just people around me that I'm like, why do you keep saying sorry for that? Like, stop doing that. So I was like, I gotta include that because so many women do that. They just keep apologizing and over explaining to
Yeah.
justify, to keep from the judgment. We don't, that's too much time. Takes away too much peace. We don't deserve that at all.
Yeah. Okay, so talk to the woman who is just starting to become aware of her patterns and
Mhm.
the fact that she wants to break them to do better for her kids, right? I know this woman is also carrying guilt because I feel like when you get that even hint of awareness, you start to really point out to yourself all the things you think you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that woman and I guess guide her?
Mm.
What is her first best step?
Compassion, forgiveness of herself. Ultimately, we'll work on forgiveness of wherever it came from. But I think the first step for anybody who's like, okay, I see it, like I at least see a little bit of a pathway as to what's happening here. It's okay to feel scared because it is scary. It's a vulnerable place to actually allow yourself to understand what's happening. And it doesn't feel good at first. That won't stay forever. That part, I promise you, will not last forever. But self compassion, a little bit of grace, and a lot of grace and forgiveness is a really good place to start without the judgment. Easier said than done, but with an intention and support system, it will be done because I've done it myself. I've done it with others, and it's possible. And I think a lot of women fall into the I don't have time, it's too late, like those kind of obstacles. And the thing I say all the time is like this program, this journey, this cycle breaking goal, it doesn't need more time. It just needs more intention because the moments of change and the moments of mindset shifts and everything that you're working on, they are done in real life moments. You don't have to go to class, you don't have to do this, whatever. Real life moments when you know what to do with them. So it's not an issue of I don't have time to do it. Doesn't need time. It's just the intention of it. And it's absolutely never too late. Like you said, your daughter, your oldest one is 16. You're still having these conversations. You're still repairing, and that's still going to be an ongoing conversation. And let me ask you, is it worth it?
100%.
Right? What happened if you were like, it's too late. I can't fix this. Right? How
Right.
much different would that relationship be? So it's never too late.
Yeah. so much. And I think that you touched on something that I think is important too, because I think so many women feel like I have to learn it all and
Mhm.
then implement, when really it is you're learning as you go. And
Mm.
it's about that intention. It's about that presence. It's about saying, like, I want different, so I'm going to choose it like right now.
Yeah.
And every moment is a new choice. Every moment is a new opportunity. And that can be tough too, because living with intention
Mm.
takes real choice,
Sure.
real in the moment choosing. But I guess the way I look at it is, once I'm aware of it and once I recognize that that's what I desire for my life, anything that goes against it is a direct betrayal of me.
Yeah.
And that can't be my reality either.
No. And that's not what you want to pass on to your children, because
Right.
they live from what they see. They
Yeah.
can live by, certain things they're taught or certain things like verbally taught, but ultimately you live by what you see and what is modeled in front of you, and that's what's more powerful than anything.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Amy, what is one thing that you would tell a mom who is feeling like she wants things so differently for her children and she just feels stuck right now?
That it's okay to feel that way
Mhm.
and that it can be different. Because I think it's, and one of the other obstacles is almost just like, I'm not worthy enough to do this. I'm not good and I deserve what I'm stuck in. So I
Mhm.
think just that acknowledgement of, you don't deserve this, you deserve better, you are worthy of more, you are worthy of the peace, and you do not have to earn it. I think some people really need to hear that, and I help them believe that.
Yeah. That, because that's such another important part, is that as women, we are taught that we have to earn love. We have to prove we're worthy of it. We have to be good girls. We have to,
Keep the
complete,
peace.
keep the peace, do all the shoulds, be all the things we're supposed to be, so that we can earn the positive reward of being seen and being valued, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I don't think that we fully recognize that we were living that way until we recognize it, and then we can't unsee it, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's hard. That's a hard thing to unlearn. But once you realize that that wasn't intentional,
Mhm.
once you realize also that women disconnected from their inner voice is something that was taught to us with intention, not
Mhm.
not by our family necessarily, but when you look at the system,
Mhm.
you look at compliance and parenting and family and school and education and life in general,
Mhm.
women are taught to bear all of the weight,
Mhm.
because a woman who doesn't do that is powerful.
Mhm.
And that threatens the system that needs her to stay compliant and small and questioning and guilty and, self-loathing and judgmental and comparing. The woman that steps up and says, wait, this doesn't feel good and I want different,
Yeah.
that woman.
Send me those women. We'll get along just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Amy, I love the work that you're doing. Women who want to work with you, who want to just connect with themselves differently and be able to parent differently, where can they find you and how can they work with you?
Sure. Okay. So there's a couple different ways. I do run a group on Facebook called Parenting with Person or Parenting with Purpose, Heal, Grow, and Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids. So there's a group of women in there, and I post some things, some free resources. That's obviously a really good way to get a hold of me, but join the group regardless and find a really safe, good community in there. You can check me out on my website. It's amyhaydakcoaching.com. There you'll see the information for Cycle Breaker. You can book a free discovery call, a free 30-minute call. Everyone has access to that. You can schedule it right on the website. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. Also, on my website, there is a free plan that you can download called Your Personalized Plan to Break the Cycle and Leave a Lasting Legacy. And that's a really great way to get started. If this work is calling you and you're like, I don't want to commit to anything, I don't know what I want to do, check that plan out, see what it revs up. See how it hits your heart. See how that feels, like you're saying, like in alignment, what feels good, right? So read it, do the reflective exercises, apply it to life because it's just a little mini piece of what's in Cycle Breaker. But if that feels good, then Cycle Breaker is definitely for you.
I love it.
Cool.
Amy, before I can let you go, I have to ask you the question of the hour. And it always is that in this community, we're all about figuring out what is in alignment, what is ours, what is intuitive and instinctual, and what are the guiding principles that we want to live by that are not about shoulds, that are not about obligation or expectation. That's what I call minding mine. If my soul doesn't love it, I don't want it. So, how does learning to mind yours or live life your way
Mm.
impact the legacy that you'll leave behind?
Think the biggest thing for me is making sure my children know that they can lead instead of follow, that they can feel comfortable in their own choices, assuming that I guide them and they, lean on God for their choices, then that's okay. They don't have to. I think it just really needs to be simple, peaceful. Like I can live my life without the societal influence. I can live my life with what's aligned with God's truth, with my family values, without letting society ruin that peace.
Yeah, like I get to live life
Yeah.
according to what is right for me, not what society tells me I'm supposed to want.
Yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me and Amy today and tuning into another episode of Minding Mine. If this episode resonated with you, I want you to please rate, comment, and review this podcast. You know that your feedback helps me grow. Everything that Amy talked about will be in our show notes. And until next time, I want you to go live your life on your terms and mind your business. We will catch you in the next episode.